right, y'all can all see my screen, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we are gonna get started. Today our presentation is called Digging Deep, right? Because, and excuse my voice a little bit, but it's called Digging Deep because this last year been a lot, right? So we're gonna talk about stress management, overcoming adversity, and then of course the good old self-care. But I always like for us to build up to that part because we don't just want to put band-aids over stuff, right? We want to really understand where we are before we really, and so that we can dive a lot deeper into that self-care piece. So let's hop right into it. So I am Melissa Douglas. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have a virtual counseling practice. I specialize in trauma, anxiety. I work a lot with young adults. I love like just normalizing mental health, talking about self-care, community-based education, like all of this is me. To the students more so, I'm a mama. I have a 13-year-old, seventh grader, and two younger ones as well. So both on like the professional side as the therapist, but then the personal side too. I'm experiencing, and my family is experiencing a lot of the things that you all are experiencing too. So for today, I want you to expect for this to be a safe space, right? We're going to talk about some things. I am very, very interactive. So me purposefully trying to get names. So Andrea and Zariah and L'Oreal and Z is this Z Olent? Is that a student too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So my students, if you are able, I want you to come on screen. I want to see your face. I want you to come off mute. Talking to blank screens is not fun for me. So if you are able, please come on screen. If you're not, totally understand. But this is gonna be a long hour if I'm just talking at y'all. I'm gonna need some back. We're gonna talk the most out of this time. So if you can come on screen, let's you have a wealth of Wyman staff that are supportive, that I know show up for y'all in a great deal. So this is a safe space for you all. Thank you, Andrea, for coming on. All right, so and Zariah, it is Zariah, right? Let me know. Okay, Zariah. Okay, Zariah, Andrea. Okay, awesome. So I want you to think back, right? So it's been an entire year. So as of last week, just we'll talk about locally when the pandemic kind of really hit for the Missouri area. It's been an entire year that we've been affected by a pandemic, which is crazy to think about, right? So I want you all to think about, and if you want to come off mute, you can do that. If you want to just hop in the chat, you can do that too. But I want you all to think about like, what's one word that you would use to express how you felt about the pandemic back in March, right? March 2020. So last year, we find out, oh my goodness, it's this pandemic going on, spreading. We got to stay in the house, everything's shutting down. We got to keep ourselves healthy, right? But then at the beginning, right, it was like, oh, so I ain't got to go to school and I ain't got to do this. And I'm like, oh, for real? Right. So tell me what's one word about how you felt about the pandemic last year in March 2020.
Confusing.
Okay, it was confusing. All right. Z, I'm not in a place to turn on. Okay, no worries, but thank you for communicating. So if you can keep doing that through the chat, Z, that would be awesome. Um, Grateful. Okay, Z says grateful. Andrea said it was confusing. So it was a whole lot of stuff going on at once, and you weren't quite sure kind of how to deal with that. Who else? I see Ja'Cory just came on. Zariah, tell me what you think. It's only a little bit of y'all, so it's gonna get real intimate in here. Amaya, thank you for joining us, if that's how you pronounce your name. Sabrina said lucky. Okay, that's a good word. All right. Okay, so a mix of feelings, right? So a little bit grateful, a little bit lucky that, whatever was going on allows us to breathe a little bit. But then Andrea said at the same time, like, it's so much going on, like, it's kind of confusing on what's what and how long we're going to be, in this, how we're going to be affected, all of that. So very, very normal and kind of on point feedback. All right. So let's fast forward then. Let's fast forward to this year, right? A year that we've been experiencing this. What's one word you would use to express how you feel about it now? Right. So Zariah, like I heard grateful, lucky last year. Do you still feel that way? Now, Andrea, do you still feel confused? And Amaya and Jacori, I know you were just hopping on as we were getting started, but we're just kind of reflecting on our feelings over the last year regarding the pandemic versus when it first kind of happened, March of 2020, and kind of now that we have been experiencing it for a whole year now. So, Andrea, I saw you come off mute. What's one word that you would use to express how you feel about it now?
I would still say confused, but I'm gonna just change it because this year I'd say maybe like tiresome or like exhausting. I
Yes,
don't know why. Like I would think I would get more sleep and like be better, but it's actually worse. And I'm like, dude.
yes. I don't see my controls, but if I can give you a hand clap, I would. But yes, yes. So it's tiring. It's like, dang, like I'm at home. I got all this extra time, but where is it going? Where's my where's my productivity? Where's all my stuff like from this, right? Um, Z said, I'm thankful for it all. Okay. Very, very positive and optimistic. What about the rest of you? Thanks for joining us,
Um,
Elijah.
I feel exhausted, but it's like some pros and cons to it. Like I can like finally do the things that I wanted to do. Like now I have my own small business and I'm more practicing on here. So like the extra time that I have through this pandemic, I can like be more focused with my family and spend
Mhm.
more time with them and learn more about myself. So
Yeah,
yeah, but it is exhausting and overwhelming.
nice. Tell us what's your business, Zariah?
I'm an entrepreneur, so I do like more. So I'm trying to investigate in more things. I do customized lip gloss, and I also do custom bracelets as well.
Okay, I heard that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so getting creative, being just kind of thankful for the whole kind of experience, but being exhausted and tired. Those are all, again, as you hear a year later, right? Some of the feelings might have changed a little bit. And I would say, Andrea, that whole feeling of being tired and exhausted, it now has an official word that's called pandemic fatigue. So it's a real thing. But as you see from last year, then also to this year, there's a variance in the experiences, right? Some people feel good, some people have energy, some people have started new things, some people don't feel too good, some people feel tired, some people feel overwhelmed, some people feel exhausted, and all of it is okay. Right? All of it is okay. I will say largely when I talk to a lot of young adult and adults, both young adults and adults, the same. A lot of people say like last year there was this feeling like that this was going to be temporary, right? Like it was going to be like a few weeks, couple months. Nobody thought or that it was going to be a whole year, right? That a whole year later we're still wearing masks, we're still, separating like ourselves a great deal. We're still thinking about social distancing and like all these good things, right? That we would have a whole shot, right? A year later. So it's really interesting how all of this is impacting so many of us. But then I also just wanted this exercise to show you and to see like whatever it is, it's okay, right? There's no right or wrong way to go through and experience what we've been experiencing, right? So for you all to a large degree, right, there's been a lot that you've been affected by, right? So there's a decrease in just your extracurricular activities, whether you still were able to do it or maybe extracurriculars got canceled. I think, can I, for you all that I can see on screen, or if you want to put a hand clap or anything, would you say that the social isolation from just your friends and family members and things has been a very huge thing that has impacted you? Yeah. Okay. Home and school enmeshment. What does that mean? Enmeshment mean all together, right? So I'm at home, I'm doing school. Some of you all might, be working or have a business or things, but when everything gets put in the same place and has to get operated from the same place, that can be overwhelming. Grief and bereavement, right? so many of us, if it wasn't our family directly, we knew of somebody that lost someone during this last year, right? So that's something that's affecting us. Loss of expectations, right? So what does that mean? I don't know how many of you all last year, or even going into this year, right, thinking about how you might spend your summer break, your spring break, any kind of celebrations, right? May I think all of us at this point have had a COVID birthday, is what they call it, to where your plans and things of what that might look like has had to shift. But I know for a lot of like, either eighth graders going into high school or seniors going into college, when they, think about like the graduation parties and the proms and like those big accomplishments and things that we look forward to, a lot of that had to shift, right? Adjusting to virtual everything has been a challenge and an issue, right? And it's not really surprising much at all when many people don't show up for things like this. Is it helpful and is it needed? Yes, absolutely. But I have so many people say, I don't want to do another thing virtual through my computer. I'm tired. My eyes hurt. My back hurt from sitting up, at a chair or leaning over at a desk, right? And that's okay too. That's part of the pandemic fatigue and so much overwhelm going on with our cognitive processing, because we're not used to everybody's face and things being so close to us in the way that it is when we're doing virtual things like this. Um, Relationship strain has also been something that a lot of young adults talk about. Unfortunately, when you're not able to always like hang out or experience new things or have those kind of peer interactions that's normal for us, sometimes things can get a little funny, right? We say, sometimes our friends get a little funny acting, right? Or maybe we're comparing, the way that people are showing up online or through social media or things like that. Maybe you just had too much of the people in your household, right? So it's relationship strain is also something that's kind of normal in this time. Um, Fear of health concerns and just exposure, right? So I don't know about y'all, but can't nobody cough or sneeze without getting the side eye right now, because there's this what we call hypervigilance, right? We're kind of like on edge about, is this person, infected? Am I gonna get this? Is being germaphobes and all this kind of stuff is something that's kind of a natural result or consequence of what we are living through right now. The academic pressure is a big thing. I know, right? Because there's a lot of expectation for you to perform the same. Our generation of students right now put a lot of strain on yourselves to, get the same grades, accomplish in the way that you were doing before, produce in the way that you were doing before. But nothing's the same right now, right? So when nothing's the same, we can't expect ourselves to do the same. But internally, our minds and our brains has a hard time figuring that out. There's also been a sudden increase in anxiety. And then this time, so from the new year to about late April, Mayish is the time of what's called seasonal affective disorder. So it's a form of depression that a lot of people experience kind of during these winter months when we don't have as much sun, when we're not outside as much. And what it looks like this year is a little bit different and kind of impacted because of the pandemic and things. So when we look at this whole list of stuff that's just a thing for us right now, it's totally and completely okay for you to say, you know what, it's been overwhelming and quite stressful, right? Because there's so many things happening at once. I see Z say it's not been that overwhelming for him or her. Now, you can let me know what your gender is, right? But not too much, right? Has what areas though have you found to be the most overwhelming and stressful for any of you, right? And this list is not exhaustive. You might say like there's something else I'm experiencing that's not on here. But what areas would you say have been the most overwhelming and stressful for you? School. All right. Amaya says school. What specifically about school, Amaya? Is it adjusting to virtual? Is it keeping up with the academic demands? Like, tell me specifically, what is it about school? Okay, thanks, Z. All right, Z said therapy was the most difficult. All right. Tell me what was the most difficult about therapy for you? And who else? Elijah. We got Amaya popped in. Zariah. Um, I lost my other girl. I think it was Andrea. What's been most overwhelming and stressful for you? Being stuck in the house. Yes. Okay. And then I got a hand on iPhone. Oh, that's Alexandria. Okay. Schoolwork. Okay. Not being able to see family as much. Um, who we have on the iPhone says, I would say school also because I've been trying to balance my personal life with school. Okay. So a lot of school, a lot of social, a lot of overwhelm with it sounds like family too. Um all right, Z. Thank you for explaining that. So Z was just sharing that the process of therapy and kind of the things that as is being talked about and kind of worked through has been a little bit overwhelming with little support. Thanks for sharing that, Z. All right. So as we think about this, right, as we think about school, as we think about personal and family life, as we think about not being able to really be with family or friends much, and if we are getting additional supports and things, maybe some of them kind of results or aftermath of things of what that looks like as well. It shows up in a lot of different ways, right? So we call this what it can be called chronic stress. And chronic stress means that something is stressing you that's not alleviating, right? It's not disappearing, it's not going anywhere, and it's something that's impacting you almost on a daily basis. And I would say probably all the things that you all listed in the chat would qualify as chronic stress. They are consistent things in your life right now. Right. So I wanted to show you like how does that show up for you so that you can know like it's nothing wrong with you, right? Like you're not going crazy or, a lot of people like to just use the term, or you just have an attitude or you're this or you're that. No, there's a lot that goes with this, right? So you might notice that from these changes and experiences, you might have a change in your sleep or your appetite, right? Or even your mood. And any of these things can go up or down. I might find myself oversleeping, overeating. I might find myself not sleeping at all, not eating as much, right? And then those mood changes can be I'm feeling this way 1 minute, and then 20, 30 minutes later, I'm feeling another way, and then another hour, I'm feeling another way, right? We also know that from chronic stress, there can be a development of depression or anxiety diagnosis. So a lot of times young adults don't realize that just stress or life changes alone, it doesn't always have to be the genetic makeup of the brain or a kind of genetic predisposition. That doesn't always have to be. It can just be life stressors or things that are happening in your life that can cause you to experience symptoms of depression or anxiety, worry a lot, we have a lot of people that just mood decreases a great deal. Sometimes a lot of my young adults say like, I'm feeling a certain way and I just can't explain it. I can't put it into words. I know that I'm just not feeling like myself, right? You might have somatic experiences of emotional discomfort. So, somatic means you feel it in your body, right? So, you might not be able to communicate the feelings and the emotions that you're experiencing, but you're saying, oh, like I had a headache every day, or my stomach hurts, or a lot of joint pain is also something that shows up. My back hurt, or my knees hurt, or this, y'all sounding like old people, right? But it can be just the entrapment of emotional experiences that you don't know how to voice. And so it shows up in your body. Another thing that I know really, really is impacting the school side right now is the loss of concentration and focus. So when our brains has like this overload of stuff that we're trying to manage through and cope through and kind of figure out, one thing I want to say for you all's brains at your age, they're not fully developed yet. So your brain has another like 10 to 12 years that it's still figuring out things, connecting things, maturing. And so your ability to be able to kind of like rationalize and make sense of all of this, like Andrea said earlier, like this is just confusing. It's confusing for a lot of us as adults, but it's even that more confusing for you all because your brains are just not at the point to be able to rationalize and process all of this just yet. So what happens is when your brain has this overload, our brains are really smart and they can do a lot of great things, but they can't do too much at one time. So if we have all of this emotional overwhelming things, it says, well, I can't concentrate and I can't focus and I can't help you perform your best right now or feel your best right now because I'm just trying to keep the basic um the basic communication going to keep you alive, right? I need you to eat. I need you to send signals to sleep. I need to send signals for you to know to get up and move around, right? So we lose our ability to concentrate and focus, and then that then transitions into our schoolwork, and that translates into our grades, and then we're all hard on ourselves, and all this stuff is happening, right? This cyclical process. Another thing that affects you in regards to chronic stress showing up for you guys is what's called passivity and disengagement. And I'll be honest with y'all, this is the one I got to work with my daughter on because when it shows up in this household, I'll be like, what's happening, right? So passivity and disengagement, what that means is like, I don't even really care right now. I don't know, right? Like I'm not sure. That's the response. I don't care. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not taking no initiative on nothing. I'm here, right? That's passivity and disengagement because your body is like, I don't feel like all this. And as a teen, I don't know how to communicate that to you in a way that is understandable, right? Another is decrease in productivity and performance, right? So the passivity and the disengagement, as well as the loss of concentration and focus, all of that then results in me not being able to do my best, right? And you all are very, very hard on yourselves. Sometimes as parents, as teachers, as your support systems, we're hard on you too, because we know how great you are and how great you can be. But I will say this is the time in life where all of us got to back up just a little bit. All of us, I mean adults, all of us adults have to back up just a little bit to give room for understanding y'all experiencing a lot, right? So it might not be the straight A's right now. It might not be the Corey said I agree. Yes, like we have to understand that this is going to affect you in a way that does not look the same. And again, because things are not the same, things will not be the same. Right. So getting all the good grades, showing up, being excited, like being y'all bubbly selves might not be the norm right now. And we have to then do a better job of meeting you where you are and helping you to put into words how this stuff is really experienced, how this stuff is really affecting you. And then the last one, which is what we see a lot, is irritability and emotional overwhelm. I don't know what's wrong with him. He just got an attitude. Or she just snapped it in, went in her room and yada, 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 right? Because we're not giving you the space and understanding of how all this stuff is affecting you. And Ja'Cory then gave me an amen on, on that one. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about mental health, and we're going to get into this self-care piece. But all of what I just talked about in regards to like how chronic stress affects you and all those different things and those red bubbles, that's all attached to your mental health, right? So it's your psychological, your emotional, and your social well-being is your mental health, right? And a lot of our young adults' mental health has been very negatively affected in this last year. Your mental health includes your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions, right? It also includes the actions that your thoughts, feelings, and emotions then inform, right? But it's also a continuum. And what a continuum means is that you can have some days where you're not feeling your best at all and you want everybody to just leave you alone. And on some days you can feel great and you're bubbly and you just want your family members to do TikToks with you, right? Like it can have this wide continuum. And anywhere that you fall in between that is okay. Everybody doesn't feel good all the time. Everyone doesn't feel like crap all the time. However, if you notice that you are kind of on that lower end of the continuum of not feeling well, or your thoughts and feelings and emotions are just not their best, and you notice like I've been feeling this way for a while now, right? That might be a little indicator that tells you I don't think my mental health is the best right now. And it's all these support people, your Wyman staff, therapists, all kind of people that can step in and be like, you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you need. Let me support you in the way that is best for you, right? And so when your mental health is healthy, What I want you to know is that there's an ability for you to look at problems realistically and cope effectively. That's your like number one indicator that you're doing well mental health wise. I can look at problems realistically and I can cope effectively. If I can't see things realistically, everything is the end of the world, or I can't cope effectively, I'm doing stuff that's not meaning me no well, then your mental health is probably not doing well at this time. All right. So, with this knowledge, right, how do we manage our mental and emotional health in the midst of adversity? And living through a pandemic is what's called an adverse event. That is adversity. And it's all about self care. So, before we get there, I want to share with you this GDC roadmap that we created because I think it's a really kind of quirky, maybe a little bit nerdy way, but it's a really easy way for you to then remember some of the next things that we're going to talk about. So you'll notice in these like teal words, you'll see driver, check your engine, shift gears, align, and navigate. Okay. Driver, check your engine, shift gears, align, and navigate. So I want you to put yourselves in the mind. So my young adults here, right? I want my young adults, I want you to imagine a car, right? And it could be whatever kind of car you want it to be. It can have the Lamborghini doors. It can be a Tesla. It can be a Honda Civic, whatever you want. I want you to imagine a car, right? And I want you to think of yourself, even if you don't have a driver's permit or ain't start driving at all yet. I want you to picture yourself in the driver's seat. Okay. You're the driver of that car. My Wyman staff here, I want you to think of you all, yourselves, as the passenger in each of these students' vehicles, right? So, my drivers, this vehicle that you've imagined for yourself, whatever that looks like, this is representative of your life. All right. And I know you don't know how to control gears yet. You got to go to driver's ed class and take the test and get your hours in and all that kind of stuff. But it's our job as the adults in your lives to help you get there. But from birth, from the moment that you were born, you were placed into the driver's seat of this vehicle, i.e., your life, right? And you're getting to the time, or some of you might already be at the time where you're like, you know what? I can work this thing a little bit. I know how to adjust my mirrors and shift these gears and all that kind of stuff. And if you're not there yet, you're going to be there very, very soon, because your transition from high school, being a teen, and on the young adult, the younger young adult side, it's moving quickly, right? Y'all gonna graduate, y'all gonna go to college, do whatever you're gonna do post-graduation, and you're gonna be even more of these independent young adults. And it's what you are now tasked with is learning, how do I operate my vehicle, i.e. my life, in the most healthy, productive way possible. Okay. So as the driver of your life, the first thing that we want you all to do, and that we're supporting you in doing, is learning how to check your engine. Right. And so in your vehicle, as yourself, your engine is your heart sensor, right? It's your heart and your brain. It's you opening up and saying, what's going on under the hood? Right? What's going on in my heart? What's going on in my brain? What's going on internally for me? So that I can start understanding myself, who I am, what I want, what I need a whole lot better, right? And as you do that, then it's going to give you some information. You're going to say, you know what? I'm doing real good under this hood. Or you're going to say, I'm a little bit challenged. I need an oil change. I need a diagnostic. I need a tune up. I need something, but I'm not feeling too good, right? But it's going to give you some information to work with. Once you have that information, it's time for you to shift gears, right? That's the action place. We go from park, drive, reverse, neutral, whichever one we are, but we need to shift gears. That's where the rest of us come in, right? If you say, I'm doing really well and I want to make sure I can continue to do that, how do we shift gears to do that? If you say, I'm not doing really well and I want to be doing well, how do we shift gears to do that, right? So it's the how, it's the action plan. And we're going to talk about that next in regards to self-care. Once you figure out a plan that works and that's good for you, it's then your job, drivers, to align. And what alignment means, if you think about an alignment on a car, We do wheel alignments. And if the wheel alignment is off, your car either drifts to the right or it drifts to the left. Your car does not go straight. And so when you align in your life, what you're saying is, I'm going to do my absolute best, be surrounded by the absolute best, and do everything that I can do to keep myself on this straight and narrow path that I've designed for myself. Right. And then the last thing is just to navigate. You do what you need to do every single day. Okay. So I want you to keep that in mind. You all are the drivers. You're learning to check your engines. You're figuring out what you need to do to shift your gears. You're learning how to align your life to do the best that you need to do for you. And then you are then committing to navigating every single day, one step forward in doing what you need to do. Okay. So for you, for your self-care plans and journeys, and how do I overcome this stress and this overwhelm, and how do I live through anxiety? Self-care for you, I put it in these 4 buckets, but it includes a lot more than this than we're going to talk about. But I think the biggest thing for you all, because you're doing this transition from being a teen and a young adult where your parents, right, run most things for you, you're learning how to use your voice. You're learning how to identify what's best for you. And you're learning how to then be able to communicate that in a way that doesn't come off disrespectful or any of those ways, right? So, one thing in regards to self care for you is all internal, learning how to voice your feelings, right? How do I feel? What am I thinking? What am I struggling with? What do I need? How do I need my support people, my passenger seat drivers? How do I need them to support me best, right? That's self-care, right? Because you're learning how to communicate what you need. And that's the best thing that you can do in taking care of yourself. Instead of holding it all in or just communicating through social media or to your friends or whatever. How do I voice my feelings? The next thing for self-care for you all is learning what we call radical acceptance and adjusting to new norms. Okay. So, what radical acceptance means is whatever the reality is for me, right? So, our reality right now is that we still got to wear masks in some places. A lot of things are not open in the way that we would desire them to be. A lot of things don't look the way that we would like for them to look. But radical acceptance means this is what it is. I can't control that. So let me control what I can, which is me, right? That's radical acceptance. And then we adjust to the new norms. I would say by this time, a lot of you have probably already adjusted, even though it doesn't feel good. But a lot of you have not had a choice but to adjust in the way that things are, right? So at this place for self-care, it might just be within your heart and your mind, figuring out how do I accept these things as the rest of this year goes on, right? My spring break might not look how I want it to. My summer might not look how I want it to. We don't know what next school year is going to look like, right? But let me start accepting that the things that I can't control, I can't control. And that helps a great deal when it comes to our mental health when we stop focusing on and putting energy and attention into things that we can't control or impact. Okay. The next thing for self-care is to practice gratitude and to set new routines, right? So when we focus our minds on gratitude, right? What are we thankful for? What are we um, okay with? Right. And that does not mean that we overflood our brains with what we call toxic positivity. Toxic positivity means every day we just wake up and say it's rainbows and marshmallows. It's not. Right. So part of that earlier stage of voicing our feelings and this radical acceptance and adjusting to new norms, that means we're saying I feel like this sucks, or I am unhappy with X, Y, and Z, right? But then we got to find something to be thankful for or to be grateful for so that we can learn how to reroute our minds to actually doing something that's productive within ourselves. Okay. And then new routines, right? How do we adjust in a way that works for us instead of holding on to the way that things were, with us knowing right now we might not things might not go back to what they look like 100% before. So how do we adjust to the new norms? Thanks, Jacory. And then the last one is to incorporate diverse self-care strategies against the 6 dimensions or across the 6 dimensions of wellness. So what are the 6 dimensions of wellness? And this is where a whole lot more of the self-care talk actually comes in. So these are the 6 dimensions of wellness. We have physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, environmental, and social. There's another dimensions of wellness wheel, and some of you who might have jobs or might be working, there's another wellness wheel that incorporates financial and career, right? And so for high schoolers, I was like, that might not be too much for you. But if you are working or managing some things in a job related area, you might want to consider how can you display just wellness and actually practice self-care in that space as well. So mental self-care, right? It's how we feel about ourselves. It's how are we doing? We've already talked about mental health. Physical self-care. This is a big one for us right now because so many of us are spending so much time sitting in front of computer screens. We're a lot more sedentary and we don't move as much as we did a year ago, right? So really getting back to as the weather starts to change again, I know a lot of you probably saw in your neighborhoods or communities, people out walking and just taking a couple laps around the block. I know a lot more people are bringing out bikes and skates and all kind of things, right? But how can you engage your body physically, right? And the reason why this is important is because it helps our blood. It helps our blood flow. And when our blood flow slows down, our brain functioning also slows down as well. So how can you get up and move is like one of the biggest things I want you all to be thinking about. Even if you don't feel like getting outside or doing any of those things, pull up YouTube. There's all kind of yoga, dance workouts, anything that you can think of, you can pull up on YouTube. You can have all kind of dance parties. Move, just move your body, okay? Socially, I know that this is something that's still a little bit challenging, and as people are getting the COVID shots and vaccines, it's something that people are getting a little bit more comfortable with. But how can you figure out how to be more social and to decrease some of the solely technology-based ways of communicating with your friends, right? How can we meet up in the backyard, and if we still need to social distance or keep a mask on, is there some way that I can start getting back in touch with and connected with my friends? Is something that I want you all to think about. Environmentally, right? How do we just take care of our environment, our neighborhoods, so that what we see outside also can then represent how we feel on the inside? Spiritual self-care is not necessarily religion based, but it's just, do you live with purpose, right? How do you keep your minds and hearts focused on the bigger picture, right? And then practicing that gratitude is something that is really well connected to the spiritual self-care as well. And then lastly, emotional. Again, we talked about the mental health space. So how well you feel emotionally and psychologically, just feeling good, feeling secure, your ability to understand your emotions and address those are all really important things for self-care. So I want you to think about, which dimensions do you feel most challenged in? But right now, I want you to think about, what do you need like right now? Like if you said like, I need something in these areas to change for me to feel better, for me to feel good, for me to kind of come out of this slump or to continue to do well when it comes to my mental health, what would you say you need right now? What's a top need for you? Uh-oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. All right, come off mute, come in the chat. Either one is okay. What do you need right now in regards to your wellness and your self-care? Come on, y'all. Y'all need something. And you have this whole team of people that are here also wanting to know what you need so that they can support you to the best of their ability.
Okay, I guess I'll go.
Okay.
At first I was like, that's a difficult question, but then I had to just think a bit. But for me, I would say, I just like, just waking up and just having like a person being like, okay, this is gonna be a great day. I think that for me is what I need. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That extra positivity.
Yeah, so an extra dose of positivity. I like that. And I think the Wyman team can do that. Yes, good. So extra dose of positivity, and also communicating that with people at home too, right? Writing some affirmations or putting up some cute little sticky notes, but something to incorporate that in the house is also something that can be done. Z said he needs support. So emotional, mental, with school and with resources at home. Okay. Thank you for letting us know, Z. Who else? What do you need right now? What would help you right now? Amaya, Makira, Zariah, Elijah. Social support. Okay. Social support. Good. Okay. So in the iPhone that spoke first, what's your name?
Okay, my name is pronounced Aisha, but Aisha's fine.
Aisha?
Yeah, Aisha's fine.
Aisha. Thank you, Aisha. So one thing that she said when she first came on was that this was a little bit of a hard question, but she has to think about it, right? And when we think about self-care, self-care is a response to our mental and emotional and body's needs, right? So the first thing that we have to do, i.e. checking our engine, is to figure out, what do I need right now, right? Because a lot of times we do self-care activities, or we, say that we're doing self-care, but on the other side of it, we don't feel any better, right? And it's because we might not be identifying, what do I actually need that is best for me, that will actually meet the needs of what I'm feeling void of in my mind, heart, or body, right? So this is it's a very simple question, but it's a very important question, because it gives you the information first, right? In order for you to make the plan on what that looks like. Okay. So I really want to encourage you to just start asking yourself, what do I need? Right? What do I need right now? What you need right now and today might look different tomorrow, might look different next week, right? But the more that you start incorporating that question into your life, you'll start being able to answer yourself a little bit more, right? Like, man, I need rest. I'm tired, right? Or I might need the positivity. I'm noticing that I'm not feeling as empowered or positive or picked up in the way that I would like to, right? Or man, like I need some social support, right? Like, how can I organize that? How can I communicate that in a way where the people around me can help to fulfill that for me, right? So asking yourself what you need and identifying what you need are huge things, so that self-care is actually beneficial for you in the way in which you choose to participate in it. All right. So this is my favorite. I use it all the time. My Wyman team probably have seen this plenty of times before, but this is my maintenance self-care plan sheet. And I love this because, again, a lot of times when we are trying to engage in self-care, we might not know what we need, but then we also might not be thinking about, like, what are the things that keep me from doing self-care? What are the things that get in the way? What are the things that I might call self-care, but they're really not in my life, right? So figuring out a self-care plan helps you to think about it in a larger degree, to help you be a little bit more successful in not only doing it, but actually doing it over time. Okay. So for the first thing for your self-care plan, for you to think about is, like, what is some consistent self-care that I plan to practice? And you might first want to think about, like, what are some self-care activities that I do or used to do, right? Are there some things that I haven't done in a while? Or are there some things that are like my go-to, right? I listen to music, I journal, I go take a bath, I go take a walk, right? When you think about those self-care go-tos for you, think about in the last like 3 months, if you have tried to do that. Well, if you have not done those things, try to do those things. But then if you have not done those things, I'm sorry, if you have done these things and they have not worked for you, think about that too. Because self-care and what actually works for you can change over time. You might realize that that go-to stuff that you used to do does nothing for you today. And now you have to figure out something else. And that's completely normal, completely okay. It comes with just age and time and all those good things, right? See you, Z. Thanks for joining us. The next thing, right, after you figure out consistent self care that you plan to practice, think about what are the barriers to your self care plan. I talk to people all the time and they have the best self care plans that they don't do. Right? So, what good is self care if you're not actually doing it in your life? And think about what are the barriers, right? The number one thing people say is, I don't have time. By the time I got done doing this and I got done doing this and I got done doing this, I didn't feel like it. I was tired. I'll try again tomorrow, right? But if we don't identify the things that are barriers that don't and that keep us from doing our self-care, then how do we know the things to change, right? How do we know what we're trying to make room for and do differently? Right. For some of you, it might be my parents is the barrier to self-care, right? They might not be leaving room for me to do my own thing, or maybe the responsibilities in the house, leave me exhausted, or the responsibilities at school, or maybe they're just not understanding how much I need self-care too as a young adult, right? So really think about what are the things that get in the way of you actually doing your self-care. And then what are your strategies to eliminate those things? Now that I know, right, I've given myself information. Now it's the action plan, shifting gears. So, do I communicate what I need to somebody? Do I schedule differently? Do I look at the things that are kind of on my plate and I figure out, and do I really need to carry all this stuff? Or can I let something go if it's causing me overwhelm, right? But what are your strategies to eliminate the things that are keeping you from taking care of yourself, or at least communicating with somebody in order to eliminate those things? And then what are some negative coping strategies that you plan to decrease? All of us have negative coping strategies, right? It might be that you overload on sugar, right? Because that sugar intake communicates to the reward system in your brain and it makes you feel good for a little while. And then now it's a year later and you can gain 20 pounds, right? I've gained 30, so it's okay, right? But what are some negative coping strategies that you do, right? Is it an overload on sugar? Is it avoidance altogether? Right. So my daughter had to have a conversation with me where she had to say, like, Mom, I got so overwhelmed with all this stuff. You would think that it would motivate me to actually get some of this stuff done. But she said, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't want to do any of it. Right. I can't get myself on track to actually start doing any of it. Right. So avoidance can be a negative coping strategy. Spending hours on TikTok and YouTube because you just need something mindless for your brain to do can be a negative coping strategy. Is laughing, and spending time on TikTok or YouTube, is that a bad thing? No, but you got to think about the dose in which you are doing it, right? If you've been on TikTok and YouTube for 5 hours and you ain't got your homework done, your house chores ain't done, nothing else is done, that might be a problem. Right? So, all in moderation. Nothing is ever all good or all bad. We just have to think about moderation when we're doing things. And then, what are some boundaries then that you might need to enforce? When you identify negative coping strategies that you have, that then might communicate to you some boundaries that might need to be put in place. Do I need to put screen time on to where I'm only having an hour of screen time every few hours so that I can do my other stuff? Right? Do I need to communicate to my parents, hey, you're contributing to my overwhelm? And can we do this a little bit differently? Can I talk to you about what I need? Right? Maybe you might need to enforce some boundaries in the way in which you might spend your time actually engaging. I know a lot of people that we're trying to do so much engaging online, but sometimes that can be a little bit of an overwhelm too, and boundaries need to be placed there. And then the last, who are your passenger seat riders, right? Who are the people that's your support people, your accountability partners? When you say, I need this is what I want to improve. This is my plan. These are the negative coping strategies that I don't want to do anymore. These are my new boundaries. When you communicate this stuff to people, who are the people that you know are not only in your circle, but they're also in your corner, and they're going to say, I got you. Just let me know what you need. Tell me when I need to check in with you. Let me know what resources you need. Tell me, if you want to touch base and talk about it, right? So this is your self-care plan, right? We're not just going to talk about all the cute stuff that we can do for self-care. How can we maintain it over time? All right. So, what are some things that you can do in the moment, right? You might notice that during your school day, or maybe you're at home and just you notice that some stuff is happening, right? You're very anxious, you're overwhelmed, you're tired, you're stressed. You might be feeling a little bit depressed. You might be missing your friends, right? What are some things that you can do in the moment that can help you feel better, right? You can do a check in with yourself. Ask yourself, self, how am I feeling right now? What do I need? Right? Just talking to yourself sometimes can help you bring to the forefront what's going on for you. You can do journal bullets. I know sometimes journaling can feel overwhelming if you are not a person that doesn't like to write a lot, but getting stuff from being overwhelming in your brain and getting it out on paper helps you to actually process it differently. So if you don't want to journal and write complete sentences of how you're feeling and what's going on and how you're doing, you can just do bullet points. You could say, I'm frustrated at this. I'm feeling overwhelmed by this. I wish I could do this, and just do a few bullet points and let it go, right? That can be something that takes you 2 to 5 minutes to do, but you've allowed yourself to release it from inside of you. Okay. Deep breathing is something that you also can do in the moment. Nobody has to know what you're doing, right? When your parents get on your nerves or they say something and you want to say something smart, you can just start doing some deep breathing and keep yourself out of trouble, right? But that deep breathing helps to deliver extra doses of oxygen to your brain, which actually helps things to process and help you to calm down and feel a little bit more calm quicker, okay? Then also two other things that you can do in the moment is what's called grounding and thought stopping. Both of these things help you to just kind of emotionally de-escalate in the moment. So you do deep breathing. With grounding, you just allow your five senses to take over. You ask yourself, what do I see in this moment? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? It's usually like the last thing you ate. But a really good kind of go-to is to put like either a peppermint or a piece of gum in your mouth, because the peppermint sense kind of wakes up your brain in a different way. And then actually feel something, right? Rub your hands together, run your hands down your jeans, anything. But in engaging your tactile senses actually helps with emotionally de-escalating or regulating. And then the last thing is just called thought stopping. If you find yourself in a space where you are feeling just kind of, sad or overwhelmed or anxious, or just in a feeling that doesn't feel good, think about something that brings you peace, right? It can be grandma house, it can be your favorite class at school, your favorite activity. Think of something that makes you feel good and start to just introduce the thought of being in that space into your brain, right? And so again, our brains are distractible. When we start to introduce this one thought, our brains get pushed over to that side and it allows us to kind of calm down, okay? All right. So the last thing that I wanted to do as we close was to play what I call self-care A to Z. Okay. And the Wyman team, you all can participate since we have a pretty small group. But when we think about self-care, again, because our self-care strategies can change over time, sometimes we can get a little bit lost on like, what can I do for self-care? Like I've tried this, I heard this, but I don't really kind of know what might be something different that I can do for me that I might not have tried. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the alphabet, and this can go really fast, but we're going to go through the alphabet, and I want you to think of, and let's use the chat completely for this. We're going to go through the alphabet, and I want you to put in something that you either do that works for you or something that you really want to try. Okay. So something that you either do for self-care, you either want to do for self-care, or something that really works for self-care for you. All right. So I'm going to say the letter because it's in the chat and y'all got to type. I'm going to give it just a couple seconds in between. Right. But I want you to put something that starts with that letter that can be a self-care activity. Okay. All right. Y'all ready? Y'all fingers are ready? Okay. A, what can you do for self-care? I'm gonna start it off. You can do aromatherapy. Arts, good. B, a bath, yes. C. Cooking, great job. Cry, yes, Dwayne, yes. Let it out, yes. D. Dance, yes. E. Eats, yes, eats. Okay, everybody said eat. Everybody some foodies. All right, F. Frolicking, okay. Hook up with a friend, all right. G. Gardening. I got into gardening last year. It was quite fun. Good, gardening. Goal setting, nice. Get your mind focused positively. H. Give back. Yes, Alexandria. That's a really great form of self-care. Get a hug, hike. Yes. Hiking weather is really coming up too. Good. I. This can be a little hard. I. Indoor skating. Good. J. Jog. Good. Isolation. If you've been around people too much, yes, you could be by yourself. Alexandra just said, okay, yes. K. Kayaking, yes. Kickball. Kick it, yes. L. Laughter, yes. Such a good coping strategy. M. Love on yourself and others, yes. M. A massage, especially from sitting in these chairs. Listen to music, make something, meditate. Yes, y'all came through on M. N. Take a nap, yes, yes, nap. So y'all foodies and y'all like to nap, okay? Oh, owning the day, okay. Open a book. Yes, Alexandria. Go outdoors. Good. P. Poetry. Go to the park. Paints. Yes. Q. Quiet time. My favorite. Yes. R. Run. Relax. Rest. Rest. Read. Okay. S. Sleep. Sleep and sing. T. Talk it out, get takeout, getting back to food again, okay? U. Understand yourself. Tierra be coming through. Alexis said under a blanket, unwind. Nice. Uplift someone. These are good. V. Vacuum. Okay, so clean a little bit. Have your surroundings look and feel good. Vent. Venture outdoors. Nice. W. Walk. Yes. Go take a walk. Yeah, yes. Be drinking your water. Skin be looking good. Yes. W oh, what's that? U W X. What we gonna get for X, y'all? Escape. Okay. We might let that slide, Danielle. I usually get Xbox at this time too. Why? You only live once. Yes, yoga. Uh-huh. And Z. Y'all got it? Z. Go to the zoo. Mm-hmm. Z's. Zero. All right. Give yourselves a hand. Y'all did a really, really great job with that. Now, the great thing about that is it forced you to think about some self-care strategies. And then you also had people to come in and share things that you might not have thought of, right? So hopefully you're walking away with some things that you can say, you know what, I'm gonna put a few of these in my back pocket so that I can practice these for self-care to help myself just feel good and feel better throughout this time. All right. So I thank you all for joining me, for us having this time. Do you all have any questions? You can connect with me in any way here. Also, our practice page is Goal Driven Counseling on Facebook and Instagram. And then me specifically on Instagram is the virtual clinician.